Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video of a game that I played recently where I just completely kind of just messed up. Anyway, let's just get into it. I start off the game with d4. My opponent goes d5, and I go bishop f4. Pretty normal stuff. This is the accelerated London system. Ideas being e3, c3, knight d2, knight f3, and bishop d3. All been seen before a million times. Opponent goes knight f6, e3, e6, knight d2, and my opponent decides to play bishop d6, which kind of breaks me out of the traditional London style that I'm trying to go for with a very simple plan that I just showed you with this stuff. Anyway, here I'm basically forced to play bishop g3. This is just kind of what I like doing. Basically, this would be a big mistake because I open up my H file now. I'm able to get my knights out, and my position is just better, and he's not really going to be able to castle on the king side unless he wants to be under attack. So that's not really a thing he can do. Instead, my opponent decides to play this move h5, which is strange, which is already very, very strange. And the idea of h5, right, he wants to play h4, and then he wants to, like, trade my bishop somehow, and it's kind of a weird move. He wants to play this h4 idea after, like, and then this queen takes, and maybe play with h3 in the future, but not yet because my knight defends and my bishop defends. It's a little strange. It's a little bit of a strange idea, and that's kind of why it gets an inaccuracy. And I understood that, and I was like, okay, you know what? What I'm just gonna do, I'm just gonna go with normal plans. I'm gonna switch it up, and I start playing like a Queen's Gambit decline type game where I play c4. My opponent has this 3-pawn structure. My opponent's next move is pretty obvious. He plays h4. Clearly the idea. I trade on d6. It's forced. If I went to like here, then this would be terrible as I have these awkward pawns and my pawns in the center are weakened, so we can't do that. So I'm forced to take. My opponent recaptures the pawn, and I simply decided to develop my knight because I didn't really see what else I was really supposed to do. There is one idea here. He can probably play this move h3 now, and the reason why is because I can't take. Like, taking here is probably wrong because now this file is open and I'm not gonna be able to castle there. I'm not even really gonna be able to castle queenside because I already pushed pawns over here. So what I'd probably have to do, I probably have to play like g3. Computer says g4 actually, which is insane. After takes, we go rook g1 and we start putting pressure on him on this area, which is it's smart. It makes lots of sense. After f5, it gets a little tricky though, and actually, you know what? This position is probably good for me. It's probably a lot better for me, actually. But either way, he decided not to play h3, which is a little strange. I thought he would. And instead, he goes for this move dc4. Another move that I can explain, but a little bit strange nonetheless. The idea of dc4, right, is because these two pawns, his two d pawns were doubled, and he wants to get rid of them. But now I thought, you know what? Okay, now I can get my pieces into the game. What's the piece that I haven't moved yet? My light squared bishop. I'm going to take like that. Wrong. Again, I should have taken with the knight. And I looked at this move. I thought this was a very interesting idea, taking with the knight here. But I decided against it simply because I thought that he had like a lot of play. Like, for example, like d5. And I thought I just had to like go back, which I could do, but actually queen a4 is decent. After bishop here, I have this move knight d6 now, and after here, I win after queen a3, or queen b4, doesn't really matter, but probably queen a3 because then the knight doesn't attack you. But yeah, and I didn't understand that enough. I just thought that it was a little more like active to bring my knight out. But I decided to take with the bishop because I'm like, okay, you know what? The bishop hasn't moved yet. Let's get the bishop into the game. It's not really doing anything on c1. I mean, on f1. So what are we doing? Bishop c4. My opponent goes d5. Okay, bishop d3. I don't really need to think on that move either. A lot of these moves in the opening I don't really think about because they're all very, very natural. Now, rook c1 plan, knight e5 plan, and like queen a4 stuff, queen b3 stuff in some lines. That's kind of the idea. My opponent goes knight c6. I play this move rook c1, which is a mistake. What I probably should have done here, I should have kept my rook on this this square and simply play this move h3, which I play next move. Idea being I just want to stop him from playing h3 himself, and I'm not scared of this move anymore because now the knight is just misplaced because all these squares are defended, and he doesn't really have anything. Like, you might say, okay, queen c7, he might try to get in here. Now I can play rook c1, it comes with tempo. Everything is going good, right? Instead of doing that, I just thought that, okay, I can play rook c1, and then after this move knight b5, I thought that I had some play. I thought I had like queen a4 stuff, and then I had this stuff, and I was like, okay, I'm winning here if he does that. So I didn't really think much of it. Like, for example, here, I mean, free knight, right? And I'm like, okay, you know what, that's pretty good. He has to go back there, right? So I didn't really think anything of it. But now he plays bishop d7, and problems start appearing. I have to stop two plans at the same time now. I have to stop h3, which is a big problem now, and I have to stop knight b4, which is another big problem because it hits my bishop, hits my pawn. My bishop would have to go back and defend my pawn, and then I'm gonna have like weaknesses all over, right? So I have to keep this a little bit under wraps, and I thought, okay, you know what, the plan that I should stop first is probably the h3 move, because I didn't think I could castle comfortably here. Like h3, I have to go g3, then like I have light scored weaknesses here, like this looks bad. Oh, he can probably get a queen there in the future, I don't know. all like subjective stuff, but I felt that I couldn't castle right away, so I played h3, which is the best move. Simply stopping this pawn from moving forward, but allowing the move knight b4, which I understood, and I was willing to go there. So knight b4, I played bishop b1. This is my idea, and I was a little nervous of this move bishop b5 with the idea of knight here, but I thought it was okay at the end of the day, so I didn't really mind it too much. He does go for this bishop b5, and I probably should have played the move queen b3. I probably should have played this. It's not the best move, but I should have played it nonetheless because now it stops all this, and then I threaten like a3, and I should have played this move like in like 2 seconds. It's not the best move. I do play the best move, actually. I play the best move, but the issue with the best move is that it gives me lots of practical issues, and it's a little tricky to play. So I play a3. This is the top engine line at depth 23. And I of course calculated everything. After knight d3, bishop d3, bishop d3, I thought, okay, I go queen b3, right? And now he has to go back, and I thought I was doing quite well. Not correct. Really not right. The issue with this line is that the engine wants me to go knight e5, which makes sense. And then after like bishop b5, now I play a4, bishop a3 is bad because of b4 coming up here, and I'm winning. So if he plays bishop a3 first, then I'm doing quite well after queen a3, because now there's no like queen d7 blocks, and I'm doing quite well there. But I didn't see that, and now I'm just in a worse position after queen b3 because my king can't castle, and it's actually pretty rough down. It's pretty rough on the king side because just because my king can't castle. And I have to work pretty hard to like stabilize here. So that's what we're going to try to do. My opponent goes bishop a6. I played the best move somehow. I didn't really think this was the best move. Queen a4. Now he goes queen d7. And I thought that there's not much else that I can do here. I played queen b4 because I'm like, okay, now if you're stopping me from castling, I can stop you from castling. You know, we do the same thing, except my threats are a little worse than his. And now he forces a queen trade to queen b5. And I'm basically forced to take it. If I don't take it, he's threatening mate, first of all, here. And if I go, like, knight g1, for example, then takes, and, I mean, I have double pawns, I still can't castle, and I mean, the position looks bad. The position just looks awful, and I don't want to play this. So I was like, okay, I'm forced to take. I'm forced to trade. Bishop b5. And then I'm like, okay, you know what? I see some weaknesses in your position. I want to be able to castle, right? I want to make sure that he can't castle. He can't castle right now. If he, I don't know, what's a move that does nothing? Ugh, everything kind of does something. But, like, for example, if it was black's turn to play, he can't castle because I would win this pawn on h4, right? that he put there like so long ago and wasn't able to play h3. And I didn't want to abandon that plan, which is kind of why I wasn't playing this 95 idea sooner, because otherwise I'd probably play this immediately. It's just very, very natural, but I thought he can castle here, and like if I try to go like f4 and king f2 and try to do something like this, I don't know. It felt like the game was kind of petering out, and I didn't want to do that. Like here, king f2, I don't know. He doesn't really have much. 94, take. It's an interesting position, right? It's interesting, but then again, my knight is a little stuck here. Like I probably have to go g3, and I mean, is this really what we want? I have this weak pawn. I don't know. I didn't like this that much. I didn't like this that much. So I didn't play this line. And instead I thought, you know what? What's a good square for my knight? c5. That's a good square for my knight. Let's get the knight there. Knight b3. Knight b3. Which is a mistake. It's a big mistake, actually. First of all, you can castle. You can castle, and if I take this pawn, then rook fc8, and like I'm kind of losing here. And I can't go here because now this, and my knights are kind of misplaced. Knight b3 is a big mistake, particularly because of this move knight e4, which is very, very smart. Just taking control of everything. If I come back to d7, like if I go knight fd2, knight bd2, my opponent can go to d6 now, and now he's in a better position. I come here, I try to do something like this. Now king e7 kind of defends everything. f4, I'm desperately trying to get my king up, but he's faster. He's faster, right? Like rook hca, king f2, and I mean even a5. This is top engine line, by the way. a5, and he's doing quite well. He has everything in the position, and I'm just slow here. I'm just slow. I'm not able to get this ever because of this move. If I take my knight out of the center, what am I doing? I should be flogged if I do that. So I'm not gonna do that. And the position is rough. But instead, I decide, okay, you know what? I'm gonna try to break through a little bit. I'm gonna go rook c7, right? I'm getting my rook on the 7th rank. I'm keeping it real. Castling I thought was still wrong, particularly because of this now. And now I'm up a pawn at the very least. Like we have something like this. I'm up a pawn here, but it's still, I'm kind of getting brutalized. Here, no matter what. And it's scary. Like if I go knight fd2, which looks natural, now rook c2, and if I trade d4, oh man, like knight back here is mate in 1, and like I can't do anything. Like I'm stuck. I'm trapped here. So I can't even do that. And what my opponent does here, he plays a nice move. He goes knight back to d6, which is very, very smart. Simple idea is he wants to keep my rook in jail, kind of, and wants to defend this pawn. Now my rook isn't really exerting any pressure, and I try to make something happen here. I go knight g5. Knight g5. The idea, I thought was a pretty cool idea, is after this I'm gonna play rook takes f7, knight takes here, and here. Well, actually he would go up here and here, and I was gonna be up a pawn, and then it wouldn't matter that I can't castle, right? Because it's an endgame and my pieces can get in, right? So I'm winning in that line. So I calculated that correctly. But after what my opponent did, or I guess what he didn't do, first of all, he can castle here, and he's just a lot better. Like king d2, knight c4 check, king c1. I can try to run over here. I feel like I'm losing. I really feel like I'm losing here. This doesn't look good. And like everything is just kind of bad. But what he does is a line, but it wasn't a very good line. He plays this move rook h5, and I immediately realize I play this move pretty quickly. I'm like, okay, rook h5. He's attacking my knight. I don't want to move my knight out of the way. Let's play f4. I thought this was pretty easy. I don't know why I spent a minute on this move, actually. I think I was like calculating some like rook sacks, but this never really works. Like you can try to get something here, but at the end of the day, now I can castle. Now my rooks get in, and if he ever does this, I go rook here, pressure him up a pawn, I win. And so I thought, okay, this move rook h5 was kind of a mistake, and now I'm going to exploit it. My opponent goes bishop c6, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, I messed up. Oh no, I messed up. That's not good. That's not good at all. And this is already kind of rough because now he's starting to trap my rook with the rook not being on the forkable square anymore. So if I like lazily like castle it or something, you go here, I'd have to sack my rook, and now I don't have this. Now I don't have this, and I'm just down in exchange after like 95, for example. But this is the top engine line. This is what we have to go for. There's no way to actually save my rook. So, and I didn't really want to like admit that. So I was like, okay, you know what? You know what I can do? I thought of this cool line. I'm gonna trade a piece for 3 pawns, and I want knight c5. I want this move knight c5. And the idea is that after king here, I'm gonna go check, takes, check, back, check here, and take. Well, actually, you come here, take, and then take, right? So like, let's put that on the board. Check, fe6, check, king e8, knight g7 here, and then actually I can't take on e5. First, I take the bishop with tempo, and after bc6, then I win the rook, and now I'm just up 3 pawns. Yeah, so this was my idea. I would have found that during a game if he went down the line, but this is my idea, and my opponent immediately makes a mistake and plays this move rook g5. And, well, I'm forced to take back. I'm not going to just be down in peace. Up in exchange now, and I have play. I finally have some play, right? My opponent goes king d8, and I mess up. I immediately mess up. And this is kind of the start of the beginning of the end here, because what I did was just remarkably stupid. This is a very easy tactic. I take on e6, takes, and I take. And now I'm not up the exchange anymore, but I'm up 2 pieces for a rook. 2 pieces for a rook. I have the rook for 2 pieces, but I have 2 pawns, and I have this passer that's close to promotion, and I'm going to win this pawn. This is what I should have done. Instead of that, I was like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to take on c6. I'm just going to take on c6. Now I got the I got everything, the exchange, everything. And now I'm like, okay, now my position's playable. I might be able to castle soon. My rook can come to f1 in some lines. And I'm going to play like this endgame out, and now my middle game pressures are done with. There's no more middle game pressures. My opponent goes bc. Okay. I play this move, knight d3. Thought this was natural. I want to come up here. This move I thought was an overextension, like here, and then like even knight back, for example. Maybe not knight back. Maybe now castles, and then like after this move, then yeah, rook f4, and after he defends it, I go, I get in like this. Okay, but like something like that happens. Something like that happens, and after knight d3, my opponent doesn't play the best way. It goes rook b8, which I thought was a move. Okay, rook b8 makes sense. I go b4. I don't want to like lose my pawn. And my opponent decides to infiltrate with knight c4. Okay, pretty reasonable. He's attacking all my pawns. He's kind of coming in and doing everything that he wants to do. And I had this nice idea. I was like, okay, you know what? He can take this pawn, but then I'm going to get my rook over and I'm going to win this pawn back, right? So I go king e2. My opponent can take, but then I thought rook a1, and after here I was gonna go knight e5 or knight c4 or knight c5 and try to play something like this. Like this is a fork, for example, and now I'm getting everything together. My rook is on a nice file. His knight is kind of misplaced. If he comes here, I can just go king d3. I'm winning everything because the knight's hanging and this fork is hanging. He doesn't take because he knows he's decent at the game. He knows what he's doing a little bit, and instead he goes with the move rook b6. Really? Doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem right either, and I don't understand that well. I misplay again though. I misplay again, and yeah, well, his idea first of all is to take my pawn now, and then he's gonna go here to defend everything. Well, actually, that doesn't work because of knight c4, knight c5. Maybe I should have just played normally, but instead I go rook a1, which is a mistake. Pretty bad mistake too. It's just passivity. If I wanted to defend everything, I should have played a4, and then he doesn't have this move now because of a5, and the rook is trapped, and I'm gonna come in like this. Probably has to sack on a5 and get into this position, and then I'm just winning, right? So he can't do that, and I understood that, but instead of playing the right move, I go rook a1. Very passive, not a good move at all. Passivity is like always wrong, like almost always wrong. 90% of the time, passivity is wrong. Well, which I know. And after king e7, I'm like, okay, I have a nice idea. I'm gonna reroute my knight over to attack this pawn, which he can't defend. Reasonable, right? So now I go knight e1, and I'm coming over, and this pawn is gonna be lost. That's my idea. If he comes, he can't really come with his king over here. If he plays this, I'm happy to trade off my weakness and then go up here and take this. So I was like, okay, I'm probably better here. My opponent goes a5, which is smart. But now I'm like, okay, now I go ba5. Knight takes, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go knight f3, and I'm going to win the pawn. But this is wrong again. What I should have done, and that's going to be a phrase that you're going to hear a lot in this game. What I should have done is I should have just stopped this infiltration. I should have stopped rook b2. I should have played rook a2 and realized that knight f3 is impossible to stop. Like, he has nothing. If he comes in with this move and trying to fork me here, I can probably just go back, and now I have an outside passer, and I'm just arguing for this. Or I could even, like, play rook c2, defend everything. He can try for this, but this doesn't seem right after rook c3, and, like, check, king d1 even, defending all the squares still, and it looks pretty bad. But that doesn't happen after knight b3. He infiltrates rook b2, king f1, and he goes with this move, knight c4, and I'm gonna lose one of my pawns. I decide I want to lose the other one. I can't lose this pawn. If I lose this pawn, for example, if I played a4 for here, check here, and I'm like getting mated immediately. This is bad. For example, this move, and I don't want to play this. Like, this is god awful. I'm probably gonna lose this pawn if I try to defend it. Well, what does he play? Knight c2 wins this. If I come back here, just rook a3 wins this. I mean, it's just like a tumbleweed. It's like more like a snowball, right? It's gonna snowball out of control, and then I'm just gonna die, right? So I can't do that. I can't lose that pawn at all. So rook e1. My opponent takes on a3. I take on h4. Probably heading for a draw here, but only black is playing because black doesn't have the doubled pawns, and everything's good. But now at this stage of the game, we're in time pressure. We're both like at a minute, right? So we got to play faster. Knight c2, attacking everything. Rook e2, simple. Check, king up, and knight b4. Okay, I played g6. This is kind of what I want to do. Infiltrate over there. I want to reroute my knight in some lines. Probably a bad move, actually. I probably should have gone here first and try to come up like this. And like after knight d3, king up, I'm probably fine. But I didn't go for that. I'm trying to play fast. g6. My opponent goes f6, and I go back to f3 with some rerouting intentions in some lines. I don't know. Maybe I'll like go like here and try to play for something like there. My opponent goes to c5. I'm pretty much forced to take on c5, but he's losing a pawn in this line, and now my knight gets a nice square to go to. I thought this move was probably pretty useful, but I'm wrong. He can go for f5 here. What does this even do, actually? I feel like this just makes it worse for him. Really? f5? Why? What about like something like this? This is wrong after king f6 and like this. Rook c1. Oh, I guess I'm just going to lose my pawn on g3 no matter what there. Okay. Anyway, dc5, he gives me this check and wins it back. Normal stuff. I go rook c2. I'm trying to infiltrate his position. He gives me this check, king h2. He doesn't really have anything. After king d6, I'm already better. The reason being is because I infiltrate. I go rook a2, and he can't stop me from getting into these very useful squares and picking up one of his pawns, particularly this one, which is stopping my pawn that's 2 squares away from promotion. My opponent goes rook b2. rook b3, I go rook a6, king c5, and I play this move knight d4. Hitting the rook, hitting the pawn, hitting everything. I could take this pawn last move, but I didn't want to right away. Takes, I take on e6, and now I take on g7. And I'm simply arguing, okay, now what's going to happen is I'm going to be getting this pawn over to promotion, but I'm playing too fast, and I should calm down a little. As you can see from the last like 20 moves, I don't think my time, 107 to what, 51 seconds in 10 moves? Like that's pretty bad. I'm playing a little too fast here, and I didn't realize in time. So after rook g3, I'm winning. This is where I can win the game. If I simply go check, it doesn't really matter where the king goes. Well, it does. He can't really go there because I win the rook. And then I simply take, and then after recaptures, I take this. I'm up a knight, and the pawn promotes. Pretty normal stuff. That's a pretty easy tactic to see, but I miss it in the time pressure, and I said just go knight f5. I'm still better, but now I'm not up a pawn, and he has a passer. I go check. He blunders this pawn, but I don't see it because I'm just on autopilot. I'm playing way too fast, and like I would be winning here, obviously, because after here I have this move at the very least. Oh, I guess not. Actually, g4 is better. Makes sense. Instead of doing that, I go check. I just keep giving checks. Check, check. I come back with knight e7. I'm attacking this pawn. I'm trying to threaten some stuff. He goes rook g5 to defend. I come knight c6 to put my knight here, which I thought was natural. Knight d2, check. I give this check, wrong. Instead of taking the pawn for free. Ridiculous, in all honesty. Like, I don't know how I didn't see that, but I just missed it. I just entirely missed that move. I honestly don't understand how I didn't see that, but whatever. I just go check here, and I'm like, you know what? I see a nice tactic. I'm going to go for it. And I see, you know what? After the king comes here, I'm going to get the knight here, win the rook, and probably life is good. But you know what? That endgame is probably losing because he has a passed pawn, right? So I play that. What the hell is wrong with me? I analyzed it properly. I analyzed, you know what, that endgame is probably lost. That endgame is probably lost because he has a pawn that's much farther away from my king, and I'm gonna lose. So why did I go for it? Why? I saw this during the game. I saw that this line was losing. But I don't know what I was doing. I got so mad after this game. We played a couple more moves. I just pre-move a bunch and then lose. But I don't even know why I did that, because that's like the stupidest thing I could have possibly done. You know, I had time to think. I had time to find the best move, which is, what is the best move here? I can just play g4 and argue that my knight gets here and I'm better. I'm gonna win this pawn. Like I can argue a million things here, but instead of doing that, instead of arguing like all that stuff, I just lose. I just decide, you know what's a good time to do is good time to lose, because I love losing. I'm actually like, I'm very angry about this game. I was very angry about this game. I have to admit, and hopefully I can do better in the future. But you know, it's just rough sometimes. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you found this entertaining, instructive, all of the above. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, do all the normal things YouTubers tell you to do. And also I have a Twitch channel that I'm going to be streaming on like twice weekly at this point. So if you could, go follow that. And yeah, that's it. Good evening and good night.